You're watching World Championship Wreckage, brought to you by Rivet City Radio and the World Championship Wreckage YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Today's episode, War Games 1997. And a lot of people criticize WCW for the lack of long-term storytelling. But Kurt Hennig slamming Ric Flair's head into the cage led to his stint in the insane asylum. And who said Vince Russo couldn't finish someone else's story?
Welcome everybody to another episode of World Championship Wreckage. I am your friendly neighborhood DadHat rocking the Carolina Panthers because it is football season now. DadHat Wrestling here, joined as always by my buddy from Rivet City Radio and Box Spots and Chair Shots, the Will Gray. And back with us this week, nothing's going to happen. Keep his fingers crossed from the Wrestle Talk Wolfpack, my buddy, my big brother, Selfbet Wrestling. John, thanks for coming on again, man.
No problem, man. And I'm wearing an Usos hat because I'm a Texans fan and they suck. But I do have an Astros hat behind me, so we're good.
Hey, well, I need to get my college team. I need a new hat for my college team. So, but yeah, so it's September, and we kind of decided that for September we were going to celebrate. It's my favorite thing in wrestling history, Fall Brawl War Games. I love War Games. I think it's the coolest concept they've ever done. It's a dusty idea, and WWE has brought it back. I really hope we actually get one this year, even though it hasn't been really discussed and it's not on the branding. But it's a cool, even with WWE not having the roof on the cage, it's a cool concept. It's a really cool idea. The Match Beyond, as it was labeled in WCW. And so we threw out for the poll, it was either going to be Fall Brawl War Games 97 or 98. And 97 won. So Will gets another win on his column. So Will, I'm going to pass it over to you. Let's start with Fall Brawl 97.
So with most of our watch-alongs, we've discovered there's a few things that go into them. First and foremost, some of them are first-time rewatches. Like 98, 99, we started watching both channels. So some of this, I may not have seen since the late 90s. This was one of them. This specific War Games, I've watched a lot of War Games. I've covered a lot of War Games. For some reason, 97 slipped through the cracks because when I rewatched it, we'll get to some of the stuff in the main event that I was like, I don't really remember this.
See, I remember the War Games match. I didn't remember any of the rest of the pay-per-view.
We talked about it before we hit the play button, but the green 6 pool ball shirt, when I saw 6 come out, and I was like, dude, that shirt is dope. I was like, I want one of those NWO 6 shirts with the green pool ball. I was like, that's awesome. But there's a couple nostalgia moments throughout this pay-per-view. One of my favorite things about this pay-per-view though is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches. The longest match of the night, looking at the notes online, was the main event. However short of a War Games it was.
So short.
Less than 20 minutes on a War Games match.
Yeah.
So the 7 phases, that's 14 minutes. It was 5 minutes later the match ended after all the men were in. All 8 men were in the ring. 5 minutes later the match ended.
Well,
that shit don't happen no more.
If that is accurate though, you gotta think though, that time, those 2 minutes and those
Sometimes
rounds
were
sped up
minutes,
because it's supposed to be 5 minutes for the first 2 and then the 2 minutes. So
this was kind of screwy in a lot of ways because they kind of announced the rules, and in I'll say WWE fashion, because we'll talk about it a lot, especially when Bree starts to get towards the Royal Rumble for Queen's Court, because when you look at the countdown clock there, when you rewatch it, that 3 minutes, I kept up with it last year, sometimes was as short as 90 seconds and sometimes as long as almost 4 minutes.
Yeah.
How long it was between each entry.
They fixed the numbers.
Yeah.
They fixed the numbers.
I don't know how to tell you guys this. I'm going to pull the curtain back. there's a lot of carny shit that goes on in wrestling.
No.
Still real to me, damn it.
It's still real to me, damn it. So let's just dive into the card, because this card from top to bottom is pretty much nothing but wrestling matches. There's not a whole lot of promos. There's not a whole lot of shit that goes down. But the first match, I told DadHat when we were starting, it's like you can hit play on just about any watch along, and we start with a cruiserweight match, and all we do is go, hey, it's person A and person B, and they were rock stars now. And then 3 years later, they catapulted and became main event superstars and world champions. So Fall Brawl 1997 starts with a cruiserweight title match between Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero.
I mean, yeah.
So what do you say about a match between Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero, guys? Like, come on.
Oh, it's fucking
strong.
phenomenal. I mean, it's two of the greatest of all time. I have my beefs with Chris Jericho now, but back then, you know, Heel Chris Jericho is always my favorite Chris Jericho, without question. Heel Eddie's, there is only one. But to see that those two guys would become who they would become in wrestling is pretty cool.
We talked about, I mean, one of our earliest episodes was the Eddie Guerrero Chavo Jr. storyline with Pepe and everything. And, you know, it had a lot to do with, this is kind of the start of that time frame of Eddie, of that, like, you know, we're a month away from your favorite match, Ray and Eddie at Halloween Havoc 97. And this is like this heel sleazy dragging the title on the ground Eddie, to me, is the top thing. Like, yes, he was great in WWE. The storyline with Dominic and Ray and Lie, Cheat, and Steal and Los Guerreros and beating Brock, all that's great. This time frame for Eddie is my favorite. It's
Eddie's fault we have to deal with Dominic Mysterio.
Hey, future world champion Dominic Mysterio.
Bite me.
But you kind of stole a little bit of my thunder, because I was going to bring up him beating Jericho here. Then a month later, having what may have been the greatest match in WCW history. You know what I mean? Because he had such a push to get to the title, and then they were immediately like, you're really fucking good. Let's put you towards the U.S. title now, and we're just going to go ahead and push Ray to the moon in the cruiserweight division. Like, they brought him in to shake things up, and then realized not only did they have two of the best cruiserweights in the world, but two of the best workers in the world at that point. So it was like, okay, Eddie, you get the mid card now, and Ray, you run the cruiserweights. And they figured it all out in like 90 days in the middle of 97.
It's quite funny to go back and look at that WCW and see how many of them would become world champions in WWE.
Yeah.
We say a lot here. Like, you think about how many stars they had on the roster, and then how from like 99 to 01, those last 2.5 years, how everything just goes down the drain with who was on their roster at the time. It's so frustrating, because you're just like, there's no way on paper this shouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
They had it.
And the dream matches that, you know, if egos and politics didn't get in the way, like, you had Hulk Hogan at his zenith as Hollywood Hogan. Imagine Eddie Guerrero versus Hollywood Hogan in a big program. Imagine Kevin Nash and Chris Jericho. I mean, what could have been? Things that, like, big feuds that could have been with Hall of Famers. But nope. Politics and egos.
Because Hulk Hogan's an asshole.
Match number 2. Got a tag team match. The Steiners defeated Harlem Heat in a 12-minute. You know, you have two of the greatest tag teams of all times. And they said, look, guys, you get a 15-minute segment, including your entrances. I need you to go out there and put on a 12-minute tag team clinic. Go.
Well, we just talked about this. When we did Hog Wild, we saw the exact same two teams, and it's a different match.
Oh, yeah.
Still very violent, still very heavy. I will point out here, no Colonel Parker, no Sister Sherry. We have, and it was a fever dream. I don't remember this really. Jacqueline with Harlem Heat.
Yeah, I remember that. That's another question we should have asked Stevie Ray, bro. We should have asked him about Jacqueline.
Yeah.
That was a weird interview.
Very nice man. Very scary man.
Very nice man. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about two of the greatest tag teams of all time. Harlem Heat, who's probably the greatest WCW tag team of all time.
Without
The
a doubt.
Steiners, who are right behind them, you know, and it's just big dudes hitting each other. It was great. If you ever go back and, I mean, you guys know, but go back and watch Steiner Brothers matches. They kind of Road Warriors guys. They beat the shit out of people in the ring.
Yeah, they did.
I put them in my Mount Rushmore of tag teams for that reason. And they're right there next to the Road Warriors Legion of Doom for that reason. Because in that 80s and 90s tag team division, they worked the fuck out of you. They didn't have soft punches, you know. They would hit hard surfaces to soft places on purpose because they didn't want to have to throw open hand fists. They were going to punch you. They were just going to hit you where it wouldn't hurt so bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, this was also, if you look, I mean, this is close to the start of starting to see a little bit of Big Papa Pump starting to show. Like Scotty is very much like he's bigger. He's much bigger. Hair slicked back, the goatee's kind of starting. He looks a little. He's not 80s Scott Steiner anymore. Early 90s Scott Steiner. This is that transformation just beginning. But then you got good old faithful Rick Steiner, Dogface Gremlin. He can ride that stick until the wheels fall off.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was younger, I thought he was slow. Not gonna lie.
I think that's kind of the whole point with the Bulldog gimmick is all he does is eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling.
Yeah.
Fucking the earpieces for the cauliflower ear, like all of it down to the.
That's why I loved him as a kid because they had the head,
the spike dog collar, even
had the headgear and everything. I wrestled in middle school and high school just to be able to wear the headgear that Rick Steiner wore.
There was a whole rash of us, I think, that showed up to wrestling club or wrestling whatever in school thinking we were going to do this, but instead we had wrestling. Like,
I got stressed.
That was funny shit. Some dudes popping up, showing up with tassels on their arms, face paint. Yeah, shit. Kid shows up like Macho Man trying to fucking. I thought this was wrestling.
He gets stretched by a freshman 75 pounds lighter because they don't know what the fuck's happening.
Nowadays, it'd be all over Twitter and social media. Middle schooler arrested for super kicking and during wrestling tournament.
Oh, dude, I'd laugh my ass off.
I would
laugh. I'd fucking love that shit.
All right, third match was, in my opinion, maybe one of my favorite mid-card titles in the 90s. It was the WCW TV title. DadHat, you and I have talked a lot about it. But when we've talked about this title, it wasn't the champion Alex Wright getting a solid title defense over the Ultimo Dragon.
Second longest match of the entire pay-per-view.
Dude, I never understood Alex Wright. I never understood him.
You've got opinions on Alex Wright.
I do. So here's the weird thing. So like, I always remember Alex Wright. Like, and yes, I remember him with disco and doing the stupid little dance thing and everything like that.
I need to clip that. I need to use that for later.
Yeah. But I started watching Nitro from the very beginning again, like, because I don't remember a lot of like the early Nitros. And so like as like Ethan and then for Monday Night Madness are doing watching from the get-go, I'm like, I'll rewatch from the get-go as well. Alex Wright has pushed hard like at the start of Nitro. He's like their young, like, here's who's gonna be next kind of push. Him, Eddie Guerrero coming in, like those are like, here's your young stars that are eventually going to be main event players.
Let's put it this way: 2 years, and correct me if I'm wrong, 2 years prior to this pay-per-view, he's beating who would be Triple H on a pay-per-view.
Yeah,
he's beating Alex fucking Wright is beating Triple H on a WCW pay-per-view that also consists of Steve Austin.
Yeah, like,
I've got a deep-seated love for that era of stunning Steve Austin and the Deadly Alliance Steve Austin. Like, I love that shit, John. You don't even know.
I do. You ever notice, we just mentioned Colonel Parker. You ever notice Steve Austin doesn't talk about that guy? I wonder if there's issues there. He never talks about him. Never talks about that time in his
Good
career.
point. Good point.
We're almost halfway through the card already, so I'm going to derail it for a second. Where do you think Colonel Robert Parker rests on managers all time outside of everybody? Because DadHat and I kind of talked about like he was super important in WCW and like outside of wrestling and stuff, but you don't really hear a lot of people talk about him now as far as like the greats.
Yeah, I mean, he was a great wrestler and all that, but as far as like managers, like I wouldn't put him above Harley Race. I wouldn't put him above Paul Heyman, Jim Cornette.
All of those guys were on our
top
list.
10. If we're just doing managers and not valets, top 10, but it's low top 10.
Like 9.
We both have him in our list when we did managers?
Pretty sure.
I know me and BC Hunter did.
Yeah, because I mean the top manager list is filling up pretty quick when it comes to all times. You look at Cornette, Heyman, Heenan. You know the list fills up. There's 3 right there, just absolutes. Gary Hart. There's a lot out there. Jimmy Hart. There's 5 right there. Jimmy Hart.
Mouth to South.
DadHat. I'm kidding.
I'm about to say, how are you forgetting this? You're the Tennessee boy.
I know. I was gonna see if I could get John to bite, and he was just like, "No, Jimmy Hart." Like
that's where I'm sitting there. I'm like, how much did you smoke before we started?
No,
this?
It's not nearly as funny. Jimmy Hart saw me naked completely by accident once.
That's weird.
I was in this. Not to derail any more than we already did. I was just found out about being sick. I was in the hospital. I was taking a shower and getting ready to go to chemo, like for them to come in and set everything up. And Bobby FaceTimed me. And I was like, okay, I've been sick, everything happening. I'll answer it to make sure there's not an emergency, And it was Jimmy Hart on the other line because Bobby was at Hulk Hogan's beach house or whatever, and was there with Jimmy Hart, like at a meet and greet, and called me to like wish me well, to say, hey, get better, blah, blah, blah. But I'm stark ass naked in the hospital getting ready to start chemo. And Jimmy Hart's like, hey, Will, I love you, baby. And I'm like, oh God, it's Jimmy Hart.
Did he try to make you have some? Would try to sell you on some? What did he sell? Beans and taters?
Something like that.
At his restaurant?
Yeah. It was fucking hilarious. That's my favorite Jimmy Hart story.
That is funny.
Because he saw me naked completely by accident.
I mean, at that point, you just got to let it flow, dude. I mean, like,
that's what happened pretty much.
What is Jimmy Hart?
I'm not going to try to hold on a second. Let me get dressed. No, I'm just going to have this conversation.
You just got to go. You go from this to this, just to make sure. Just to make sure if you're going to make an impression, make a damn good one.
It was awesome and awkward all at the same time. My sister is on the other side waiting for me to tell her I've got my clothes on so she can come help me, mind you, because I've got IVs and shit, so I can't really bend over or move. And I'm like, it's Jimmy Hart. It was a messy day. So Jeff Jarrett, Dean Malenko. We had kind of mixed emotions about this one because of Double J. Selfbet, what do you think of, before we get into, because there's going to be a conversation had about Jeff Jarrett. Let's start with the easy part of the pie because all 3 of us are going to pretty much have the same opinions. What do you think about Dean Malenko?
One of the greatest cruiserweights of all time, one of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time, one of the greatest submission artists of all time, one of the greatest. And when he went to WWE, the odds were stacked against him because who he went to WWE with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he was number 4 in that group of 4.
Yeah.
Sadly,
yeah. And as far as now, I know he works for AEW. I know he's battling Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Or dementia. Parkinson's. Yeah. But I mean, Dean Malenko is one of the greatest of all time. There is no cruiserweight division without him and Rey Mysterio, because you can give Eddie his flowers, Psychosis his flowers. You can give all these other cruiserweights their flowers. No rivalry was a better launching point for WCW's cruiserweight division than Rey Mysterio versus Dean Malenko.
Dean kind of set. We've talked about, whether it be on the Wolfpack or it's been off camera, we've mentioned like in AEW, Cody kind of being like that, initial first feud. In WWE, we've talked about like okay, you're coming in where we see big things in you. The first person you're going to feud with is The Miz, right? Dean Malenko he launched so many other careers. His feud with Jericho helped make Jericho and that heel persona.
Oh, dude, to this day, if you go watch, I want to say it was Slamboree 98.
The one where
when he's dressed up as
Cyclope?
When he's dressed up as fucking Cyclope and he takes off that mask, that is one of the loudest reactions I've ever heard of all of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
All of it.
Yep. Slamboree number 98, one of my absolute favorites.
My biggest thing about Dean Malenko is, if you think about technically speaking, you were saying you look at the luchadors and stuff, people talk about Eddies and your Rays and stuff. Dean Malenko and Ultimo Dragon had the unification bout when Ultimo was the J Cup and had the 8 cruiserweight and junior heavyweight titles. And then he wrestled Dean Malenko for the WCW cruiserweight title and beat him to have 9 titles at once. It was that culmination of good traditional wrestling with a capital R against that Japanese strong lucha libre that Ultimo Dragon represented. And it was like the clashing of styles. And if you watch that series of matches, and I think in 98, but if you watch that series of matches, they had like some of the best cruiserweight matches in the world, and people always, I myself included, 97, Halloween Havoc, Ray and Eddie, Slamboree, Ray and Eddie, Monday Nitro, Ray and Eddie. But those Dean Malenko Ultimo Dragon matches were some of the best cruiserweight matches ever.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Jeff Jarrett, son of a bitch. All right.
That's JEFF. JARR. ETT.
Jeff.
Yeah, get it right.
Jeff Jarrett, double J. 2 things. I'm just going to hand it off because I'm going to tell you some facts because I'm Will and that's what I do. Me and DadHat set out one night and DadHat said this is a very Will thing to do. Let's figure out how much they spent on guitars. I don't remember exactly how we ended up doing it, but long and the short of it, took me
just take a screenshot of that. I have that text message. Please hold. I'll find it.
We ultimately we had a conversation about it, and then I did the math. I found some interviews where he talked about it, roughly how many he broke. He said,
I got it right here.
Do you? All right. Ready, set, and scene.
To quote Will, Jeff Jarrett was active in the ring from 1986 to 2021. During that time, he broke approximately 6,000 guitars. He recently said in an interview that he paid $0 out of pocket. It was all the company. He also said WCW used higher quality name brand guitars. So taking that roughly 6,000 guitars and dividing it equally between his 35 years is 171 guitars a year. He was in WCW for 5 years of his career, assuming those were average of 275 for a decent name brand acoustic guitar. Means WCW spent roughly $40,000 on guitars. The other 30 years at 171 guitars a year at around $100 each brings the grand total to around a cold $500,000 on guitars throughout his career. Yeah.
Okay, two things. First of all, DadHat, your reading and speed were fucking impeccable. Secondly,
I have a theater degree.
Secondly, Will, how much time do you have on your damn hands to sit there and do all that damn math?
I retired from the kitchen, so now all I have to do is eat, sleep, and breathe pro wrestling. So, like, I'm bored, bro. Like, I
literally said it like offhand. Like, I wonder how many guitars and how much money they spent. And like, it's like I said that, and literally within like 2 hours, I had that text message.
Oh yeah,
I've got some really cool stuff. I found some nice databases online that can pull some information for me, win, loss. Like I've got a whole notebook where I've documented. I think I'm up to the first 30 years of pay-per-views in wrestling history, what city they were in, where, like, which promotion ran it. That way, if DadHat's ever like, hey, you remember October of 97? Was it Fall Brawl or, whatever next? So I'd just be like, there it is.
The fact that you have all these notebooks, there is a play. There's a movie of it too. And the movie's really good too, but called Proof. And it's about a guy who was brilliant and he was older and he died and his daughters are going through his house and he just has notebooks upon notebooks.
Buzzkill DadHat.
Yeah, well, you still see him in the movie. It's like his daughter is suffering from mental illness and like talking to her dead father. But like in their house is just notebook upon notebook of math proofs that he's done, and it's just like nonsense. And like that's gonna be like if some like as you get older and like later on in life when something happens to you, someone has to come into your home like, what was this madman with like all these notebooks? Like, what does this even mean? Like, what do you mean a Judy Bagwell on a pole match? Like,
This is what it's going to look like. Sometimes legible check marks, we'll just had notes to run. And then sometimes you get into shit and it's like, what the fuck was going on, guys? Like, where was my brain? What the fuck is this Blair Witch shit?
I would say, looks like the mom, and what was it, the mom who was drawing shit in signs before she got hit by the fucking bus?
yeah.
Like, it starts with normal words. Look, Memphis gets over everywhere. And then by the end of whatever
You're drawing signs. Yeah.
we were outside of Barstool when the drugs began to take hold.
Was that Leonardo DiCaprio movie about the aviator?
Yeah.
Next thing we know, Will Gray's pissing in bottles, writing old wrestling in notebooks, refusing to leave the fucking house.
Yeah.
It is what it is, right?
It's gonna be the butterfly. You're just gonna find notebooks, butterfly effect, the wrestling world.
If Owen had never went up, these are the things that could have happened. Speaking of wrestling butterfly effects that we could hope go back and change. So Jeff Jarrett wrestles here, okay? And then Jeff Jarrett leaves WCW, goes to the NWA, wins the NWA North American title, and then January of 98 invades the World Wrestling Federation and enters the Royal Rumble and attacks Owen Hart and steals Owen's spot, like the whole debacle of the NWA invasion. Gentlemen, looking at Jeff Jarrett and where he was at in 97 going into the NWA invasion, leaving WCW, what do you guys think? Jeff Jarrett, Double J, like 97, 98 push, the ridiculous failed NWA invasion.
I see Jeff Jarrett back then as I see The Miz right now. I mean, going to be remembered, but nah. For me, nah. Now, once you get past WCW, once you get past WCW ending and him starting TNA, I build a whole new respect for Jeff Jarrett. But if we're just strictly talking about this version, I didn't think he was going to be anything special or anybody, or damn sure didn't think he'd have the career he's had.
One of the greats.
Yeah, I am a Jeff Jarrett fan, but it starts with like Attitude Era with Owen, Deborah, going to WCW, Slap Nuts, The Chosen One.
Don't piss me off.
Yeah, like that's, and then TNA.
Yeah.
King of the Mountain.
I really like Jerry Jarrett. I'm a Lawler fan, blah, blah, blah. Memphis Wrestling territories. Get off my porch. Next match. More people, dude. We've talked about so much good WCW wrestling since we've started this podcast, and I've thought about it and all the stuff I've got to see over again. Wrath and Mortis with Dr. James Mitchell. Faces of Fear, Ming and Barbarian, great.
We haven't talked about them at all in this podcast.
We'll get to the Faces of Fear, but having a chance to watch this Mortis match after so much Canyon talk between us, but seeing this version of him, like, what did you guys think of Mortis? But specifically Wrath and Mortis together, the freaking Mortal Kombat larger than life characters.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They were
right?
They were straight out of Mortal Kombat.
Like
that's exactly what they were.
Even Mortis's like stance, like as they start the match, he's doing that rocking
fatality.
Of like a character, like waiting for the start.
Which sidebar? I really want to get that new one. The new Mortal Kombat one. Yeah,
it was in my brain as we were talking about it. I was like, dude, that Batista commercial for that MK1 bid like made me want to get a PS5 bad. Like
It looks
real
dope.
bad. Yeah.
All right, sorry, Dad.
You're cool.
DadHat, this is your show, bro. We're sorry.
It's not my show. It's our show. I just forgot. Like, it's been forever since I've thought or anything with Wrath, and so I'm like, oh yeah, it's Adam Bomb. Like that was my whole thing. Like I wasn't listening when they said I saw Mortis coming out, and I'm like, okay, I know that's Canyon, but I didn't like when he came out with a get up. I was just like, wait, who is this partner? And then I was like, oh yeah, Wrath, Adam Bomb. Okay, cool.
Does Brian Clark follow you yet on TikTok? No.
Follows me.
Still hasn't. I'm sending him a message. I'm like, hey dude, you need to follow this guy. He's a massive fan. Try and get him on here.
Well, you guys know me. I have no shame. I'm absolutely shameless whatsoever. I will message anybody. I will cold call motherfuckers and be like, yo, you don't know me, but so-and-so does. Let's be friends.
Okay. So sidebar really quick, and I'm not proud of this. I am not proud of this. And I don't even think DadHat knows this. But on our previous channel, our first channel, the creator of that channel,
he does
somehow obtained a certain American Nightmares phone number.
Yeah.
And I said, fuck it. I sent a long text to Cody Rhodes. And it was like, dude, shooting our shot, missed all the shots, everything I could fucking think of. I felt so afterwards, I was like, that's real creeper shit right there. I feel bad.
It probably went to like some random old lady living in like, Tupelo, Mississippi.
No shit.
I lost my train of thought. That was awesome.
We went Mortal Kombat, and then we went
Wrath
and Mink, and then Cody Rhodes,
Brian Clark.
There you go. Adam Bomb. My Adam Bomb story. He got on TikTok. He started getting followers. He started following some of us back. And I have no shameless I'll email anybody about an interview. That's, I've gotten real lucky, and sometimes I have to send 100 to get 5. But I sent Brian one. He was real quick to respond and be like, hey, Will, thanks, man. Absolutely. I'm usually really into doing podcasts, but I'm starting my own. So that's literally what I'm going to be pushing real hard. And I was like, hell yeah, bro. Let me know if you need a guest. I'm always down to talk shop. And he was like, I'll keep it in mind.
Put yourself over, bro.
Yeah, he straight was like, no, man, I'm starting my own podcast right now. That's where my focus is. I was like, mad respect, game respects game. Like, let me know if you need a guest.
My guest today, the Will Gray.
Dude, weird as shit have happened. Like, I've gotten some weird ass. I've sent you screenshots of some of the weird ass people that I've gotten emails from where I'm just like, this is my life now.
Hey, I technically have a former member of Ravens Flock's phone number in my phone, and I still haven't done anything with it.
It's true.
I have one that I'll show you guys after we get off, and I've got the okay to text him, and I just haven't got the balls to do it yet. Ming and Barbarian. It's neither one of them, but this is one of those like underappreciated tag teams that we haven't spent any time chewing on yet, DadHat. Like for who they were
so long.
Yeah, they were a workhorse, and we talk about the longevity of it. Just a random cat. Yeah,
he just picks up a cat like he's a fucking supervillain.
This is my Siamese Daisy. She's my sweetheart. She's got beautiful blue eyes, and she's a white and gray Siamese. Daisy Buchanan, named after F. Scott Fitzgerald's character in The Great Gatsby.
Let's sew you.
Dad had the inner working of Will Gray's mind. You're like, God, I wish that didn't make so much fucking sense.
It all fits so much.
But dude,
as I stroke her like a fucking Bond villain.
When it comes to the faces of fear, there are two things I always say. One, I wouldn't want to fuck with either one of them in real life.
Not a chance.
And two, are they related and or related to the NOIs? I don't know.
Give me a second. I'll find out right now for you. Keep talking.
I don't know. Like I know I think there's a link somewhere that links Haku and the Barbarian and the NOI family. I just don't remember.
Everybody calls him Haku. Like he was always Ming to me. Like I'm never like, who's Haku?
Dude, I mean, when you're growing up and when you're a kid, when you're our age, You don't remember stuff like that. But when you go back and watch it, like go back and watch 1985, 1987 WWE and see him, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
You never know who's going to be something. I mean, my God, the greatest of all time, Steve Austin, was just stunning. Steve Austin, Colonel Robert Parker's, his manager 2 years prior to that. And now in the 90s was the sole contributor for an influx of wrestling fans.
Yeah. I just remember Ming, and I remember like even like white flat top Sting, Great American Bash wrestling Ming and cutting a killer promo beforehand, and like at the tongue and death grip and everything, and doing the tongue and death grip on people and being like, what's he doing?
So they're not part of the Anawai family, the bloodline, okay? But Haku happens to have 3 sons in pro wrestling. And I didn't realize, one, that these were all his kids, and 2 of the 3 I didn't realize were brothers. Tongalao, Tama Tonga, and Hikuleu, all from New Japan Pro Wrestling, are all 3 brothers, and they're all 3 Haku's kids.
Yep.
And I didn't realize that until
was Tama Tonga's brother.
Yeah.
And Ming's kid. Okay.
Well, Tama Tonga and Tongalao I knew were brothers. Yeah. I didn't realize Hikuleu. I knew they were related somehow. I didn't realize they were all 3 brothers and they were Haku's kids. So this is like coming full circle now. Because if those 3 came to WWE, it could be like Haku versus the Bloodline. Like, which Tama Tonga, which family was the biggest and the most powerful now? Because we'd have 2 fucking Samoan or Japanese dynasties, like Battle for the Pacific or whatever the fuck happened in 42.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, Tama. I want to say Tama. I think it's Tama and Hikuleu are like brothers, same dad, same mom, and Tongaloa. I'm not, and I may be off, but yeah, dude. When I found that out, I didn't know Tama Tonga was Haku's kid until like Bullet Club was already a massive thing.
Yeah.
When Simon Miller almost got his ass whooped by him in the parking lot. That's when I found out that Haku was Tama Tonga's dad.
The Faces of Fear they were always there. Like I felt like it's crazy to me that we were. This is, I think this, if I'm thinking of it off the top of my head, I think this is episode 21 for us of Wreckage, and Faces of Fear have never come up. No matter, we've done watch along, we've done career retrospectives, but like they've never come up. But they were there and were a tag team so much.
Mm-hmm. Never won the tag titles though, right?
Not WCW. They did WWF.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The next match was 5 minutes and 27 seconds, and it will probably take us half of that time to touch on it. The Giant versus Scott Norton.
The entrances were longer than
the actual match.
Here's the thing, though. I don't remember Scott Norton coming out to his own music and just having like the "We Are Taking Over" and the New World Order like on top of it. Like it wasn't the NWO music; it was his own with that stuff sprinkled in.
So, spoiler alert, I have never been a Giant or Big Show fan. I just don't see anything.
You didn't have a preference? You didn't really have a preference like when he was in WCW? It wasn't any of the, oh shit, this is Andre's kid? Like,
no, because I knew, because back then I was starting to get older and starting to read more. And, we had dirt sheets were starting to come out. The internet was really starting to take effect. So I knew that Andre only had a daughter. Like,
so you knew kayfabe was dead at that point.
Pretty much, yeah.
I was a Giant fan.
I liked the Giant. I know, like,
looking back at it, he's
still real to me. Damn it!
Yeah, he's green as grass.
You gotta go somewhere else. I can't level you right now. Stop.
I mean, when I kind of just gave up on the Giant when he breaks Hogan's neck 2 years before this in War Games.
Yeah.
And at Hog Wild, he loses.
Yeah.
Like, just straight up loses to Hogan because Hogan's the bad guy and takes the title.
Yeah.
I figured the Giant would have been somebody that Hulk Hogan just straight couldn't beat.
So
Pushed him off the fucking roof.
Yeah. Yep. Halloween Havoc 96. I have a funny Giant Paul White story. So knew him as the Giant, was at WCW as the Giant, you know. I mean, that was just who he was, right? Well, when you can't afford pay-per-views back in the day, what did you do? You click
Watch
through
the squiggly lines.
You listen to the commentary on Squiggly Line and hope that you could pick out things. So I remember when he debuted at St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and they're just like, "Oh my God, it's Paul White," and I'm over here like, "Who?
Who the hell is Paul White?"
Like, he's 7 feet tall, and I'm like, "Who's Paul White?" Like, I'm like, and then next day I'm just like, "You mean the Giant?" Like, I just remember.
Is that an actual name?
Why would they call him that? Why wouldn't they just call him the fucking Giant, guys? Like,
I mean, let's see, that was 99, so I was
14.
Yeah,
we
14.
were almost 14. Yeah, you turned 14 like 5 minutes before I did that year.
Yeah. So, but I just remember being like, "Who the fuck's Paul White?"
Semi-main event: Lex Luger and DDP versus Scott Hall and, you know, the amazing tag team that was Scott Hall and Macho Man Randy Savage. When you think of the NWO, right? That's the two you think
they
of.
substituted a bunch. Like, that was a
The Freebird.
Yeah.
This was that. It was a no DQ match. It was 10 minutes. They went out there. They said some stuff. They did some things. Team WCW got the win. This is a year separated from Bash at the Beach. Is the NWO WCW rivalry bigger here or when the Outsiders did it a year earlier?
Oh, a year earlier for sure.
Year earlier, dude. The one thing about the entire NWO saga is WCW got so one-sided, taking L's, that they created another NWO, and it was still more popular than WCW.
Yeah. By this point, 97, NWO is just too cool for school. Like, they're the cool ones, but everything. But I mean, you do have two of the biggest stars in WCW opposite them. I mean, Luger was huge at this point. Like, I couldn't remember when I was watching, I was like, is this before or after he's beaten Hogan for the title? Like, on Nitro. I couldn't remember when that date was in time. And then DDP, I mean, this is September, October, November, 3 months away from him beating Kurt Hennig at Starrcade 97 for the U.S. title, which was his start of his Giant run as a main eventer. So
yeah, this is peak DDP. This is peak when it starts to take off for him. He's already had the matches with Savage at Spring Stampede.
Yep.
He's already
Spring Stampede's
Halloween Havoc.
He has one more the next month. This is the last one with Savage.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, when he hit that diamond cutter on Scott Hall, changed his life.
Looking at where the stories are here, thinking about the official, unofficial brand split, kind of talking about the NWO and then the Wolfpack splitting off of it, ironically, talking to my two boys here. But they said they challenged the NWO because they were like, how are you going to split and run everybody out except for the NWO and only have NWO refs and NWO guys without having a stale product? And then they were like, hold our beer because we're going to form the Wolfpack and shake everything up. And people were like, that was the beginning of the end for it in some ways because it started to water the product down. There were too many members. But I feel a lot of times going into that 97, 98, 98, 99 push with the split of the Wolfpack and everything before it goes into the black and silver bullshit in 2000, like this was some of the best NWO. Wolfpack, Sting, like all of this that came out of all what was happening in this 2 or 3 year span was some of the best wrestling ever.
Yeah.
Then we get to the main event, boys. The world's shortest War Games match.
So short.
20 minutes. They did it to where the first two guys fought for 5 minutes or whatever is what they said. And then it was every 2-minute periods for the last remaining 7 periods or whatever, alternating with the coin flip. Hills surprisingly won to get the advantage. Who saw that one coming? NWO gets the win, but it's not really about the NWO beating Team WCW. One, it's about
it's not even WCW. It's NWO versus Horsemen.
And it's about the NWO sending out their B team minus Nash with Six and Conan and Buff Bagwell and Kevin Nash against the Horsemen. But you and I just talked about it before we went live. Hennig making his turn here, turning on the Horsemen and joining the NWO. Is that the biggest story to take away from this match in 97?
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
I'm sorry. 100%, dude. I mean, it was leading up to this. You knew it was going to happen. You saw it coming.
Oh, I didn't. Not when I was.
You didn't see it. You didn't see it coming.
I wasn't quite smart enough to the business to see heel turns coming yet.
I was like, oh, Kurt Hennig's going to be the savior. We're going to get another, like, you know.
This is what should have happened last year, you son of a bitch.
This is going to be a strong horseman. Like, I was like, Mongo aside, Flair, Benoit, Hennig. Yeah.
They could take out 4 people, just those 3, and you get a fucking big boxer dude like Steve McMichael.
Well, for me, back then when you watch, it seems like every person they try to build up ends up turning.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's Kurt Hennig. Then he turns. Everybody this is at the point where everybody's joining the NWO. And you just sat there and you waited on it. And when it happened, I mean, the one thing I remember about this match is the ending when they slam Flair's head.
Yep.
Well, but it's not that. It's the next night on Nitro when Nitro starts. And it's Ric Flair in a legit fucking hospital getting his face worked on. So he leaves. I think he went and got Botox? Mm-hmm. Or he got something. And they allowed the WCW cameras went with him and filmed him getting his face worked on to sell the fact that he got his head slammed in a cage.
Kayfabe, brother.
Like I said, the NWO got the win there, and that was it. Like Kurt Hennig turned, everything that happened with the Horsemen and DadHat. It was a whole pay-per-view in 45 minutes, man. I think it's the first time we've ever actually pulled that off, where it was like, oh, we could do this in 45, and then it didn't take us 90 minutes to stop talking.
Yeah, but I would be remiss if we did not bring up kind of like what led to this whole War Games match. Everybody remembers the, DX parodying the Nation and stuff like this. This was NWO parodying the Horsemen and the whole like Arn Anderson retiring because of his neck injuries and stuff like that, and taking a heartfelt moment and just pissing on it right there. So it's great. I love the parody and everything. Of course, years later you hear from Arn, his wife was just like, Kevin Nash made you look like a freaking alcoholic. Sorry, Arn. But it's a great way to kind of set it up and everything. And it made Six look like a star here. It made him look like a main eventer because it's Six feuding with Ric Flair. Like everybody was kind of paired off with somebody because of the parody, and it put Six with Ric Flair. So
not just a spot, not just a liver spot, not just my dog spot. I'm sorry. If it made him look like a drunk, I'm sorry. However, it was still fucking hilarious.
It's a great parody. I love it. I love the setup for it. And I just remember Bagwell as Kurt Hennig. It would be an honor.
Looking at Six and where he was at, this will be my last question before we wrap up. He left and went to WCW, and they took over on the ratings. Mm-hmm. He left WCW, came back over to WWE, and the Attitude Era took off in WWE, and WWE took over the ratings again. Was Six, was X-Pac, was Sean Waltman the needle mover without realizing it? He was the needle mover. I'm being completely facetious here because he obviously had nothing to do with that. But when you look at the timeline of him leaving WWE and going to CW, and then they start to take the lead, and then he leaves WCW and goes back to WWE, and then they take the lead back. He wasn't actually the reason why the needle moved. But isn't there something ironic about the fact that his contract changes coincided with where the ratings went, even though he wasn't the reason why?
It's funny. It's funny. I always think of X-Pac, Six, Sean Waltman as one of the Forrest Gumps of wrestling. One of the biggest
to be there.
One of the biggest moments in Raw history is him beating Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 kid.
He was the 6th member of the NWO. Like you said, that's when the NWO or WCW took over. When he comes back with DX, they take over. He was a member of the Clique. You know, he was a part of TNA. Whenever TNA was getting off, starting. Six is he's been there for big moments. Has he been a part of a lot of big moments? No, but has he been somewhere in the circle of them? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a two-time Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Never won a world title, though. Do you think Sean Waltman is in that top 10 of greatest of all time without winning a world championship then?
No.
He's not on mine.
I'd have to run down I'd have to seriously think about that one. I would 10.
It'd be low. It'd be lower. 10. It wouldn't be like
8, 9, 10 maybe on a good day if I had a shitty memory that day and I couldn't really think of anybody.
Yeah.
Like I'm a fan. Like I liked him in NWO. I liked him as 1, 2, 3 kid. Like I liked him. Like I saw him as Six and X-Pac before I wasn't watching early Raw. So I remember like going back and being like seeing 1, 2, 3 kid and someone being like, that's X-Pac. And I'm like, huh?
He was one of the first wrestlers I remember seeing multiple gimmicks and realizing it was him. Like he was the 1, 2, 3 kid. He was Six. He was X-Pac. And I was like, I remember all of these guys wrestling. Like some of my earliest memories going through those early 90s to the late 90s pushes. Like, we're old, guys. We're old.
Yeah.
I get older in 13 days.
I know. If we got 2 weeks right at the end of the month.
Oh, dude. 38 sucks.
Thanks.
It sucks. Don't do it. Just skip it, dude. Skip it or hit pause. Don't turn 38. I don't recommend it.
I'm the baby in the room. I'll turn 38 last.
Yeah.
I'm the young buck between us.
How old are you?
37. I turned 38 in November. 2 months behind DadHat, like 6 months behind, no, 5 months, 6 months behind you.
Shout out to my friend off screen who's 31.
Yeah.
Lucky
Enjoy
it. Lucky ass youngsters.
Yeah.
That's it, DadHat. It's your show again.
Yeah. So September is War Games month. On the poll right now, you can vote on TikTok. You can vote on X/Twitter. You can vote on. You can comment and vote on Instagram. We're going to cover another War Games, and we're going back to early War Games, either 93 or you get. And I'm not just saying it because it's my pick. I just want it to win because I really want to talk about the Shockmaster because it's 93 or 94, which 94 is a great one as well. But just to bring up the Shockmaster because we haven't talked about him yet.
I would like for everybody to vote for 93. I would love for everybody to vote for 93. And if 93 wins, I would love to come back if you'd have me.
Yeah.
Because I was there.
Oh, you were there.
I was there. It takes place from the Astro Arena in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
I can tell you all the matches. I can damn near tell you which ring it was in each time. I was there.
Rewatching it. I when we do these polls, I kind of just, I'm up in the middle of the night with the little one. So like sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a night. And so I'll just watch both of them if we do a watch along. So I started 93 and I was just like, yeah, give me Ricky Dragon Steamboat and Lord Steven Regal. Yeah, give me that match.
Rick Rude versus Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? The Nasty Boys versus Arn
Anderson
and oh my God, Power and Glory. Paul Roma.
Roma.
It was
Yeah.
Arn Anderson and Roma. Arn Anderson and Roma versus the Nasty Boys. Cactus Jack, where this is when he loses his mind or gets his memory back after Vader powerbombs him on the floor.
Yeah.
It's a good one. And the funniest thing about it is if you go on Peacock now, the cover is all the members of the War Games match with their captains, and it's Hawk from the Road Warriors. But at the actual show, it was Animal that walked him to the ring.
Yeah.
I never understood that.
Huh.
But yeah, so 93 or 94, that'll be next week. That poll ends, I think, Sunday night. So we got like 2 more nights. Go retweet it or share it because it don't got a lot of votes right now. But of course, you can find World Championship Wreckage on every social media platform. Soon we will be coming to MySpace if that still exists. I want to figure out a way to get on MySpace.
I miss MySpace.
I do too.
You guys would be in my top 8 if MySpace was still a thing.
Yeah, I miss MySpace. But John, the floor is yours.
Sir.
Plug your shit.
Plug my shit. Well, guys, I am one of the hosts of the Wrestle Talk Wolfpack, along with my boy up here, DadHat Wrestling. Guys, we are live almost every Wednesday at twitch.tv/Wrestle Talk Wolfpack. We cover everything. I mean, we have guests. We talk a lot of wrestling. And then also Saturday nights, me and the one and only Ginger Ninja, we have Boyfriend Time. Do not miss it. It takes place tomorrow. I don't know when this drops, but it'll be Saturday nights, every Saturday night. We go till we get bored. We may go an hour. We may go 3 hours. But swing by, check us out. Go give us a follow. Give us a subscribe if you really like us. And obviously, Selfbet Wrestling on TikTok.
Unless he gets another community guideline strike.
That was so bullshit.
It was so stupid. You just send Will that video.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, it's really funny. I saw it, and then you messaged me and were like, "It got taken down."
The video was up for 30 fucking seconds, Will Gray. 30 seconds. DadHat saw it, and I got a community guidelines violation and a strike.
Like, I liked it, and then he messaged me like, "It's gone."
Wow.
I was like, "I just liked it. What happened?"
Yeah, okay, I'll send it to you when this is over.
See it.
Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, Will. So we got to do another poll, and it'll be our last War Games one. So I'm throwing 98 back on there. Damn it.
98.
I want to talk about Warrior.
All right, you do 98, and I'll do 99 back in behind it. Then, did they go 99?
There's no War Games.
No, not well. It's not a War Games. It was that. I think was 99 the Triple K, or no?
No, that was
2001.
This is Kevin Nash. No, this is Sting and.
Oh, this is the Sting heel turn.
This is the return of Hollywood, of Red and Yellow Hogan versus Sting. And
it's the Sting heel turn 99.
Yeah,
which made no fucking sense.
It did not.
No.
So we covered 93. You could do 95 or 96 if you want to do Fall Brawl War Games. 96 is the one with the debut of Fake Sting.
That broke my heart. I swear that broke my heart.
Me too.
Whenever he came out of that limo, I thought it was him. Broke my heart.
Let's do 95.
Poor little self bet.
95 or 96?
96, rather. 96. Yeah, Fake Stink. Let's do that one.
Okay. It's a good one. Hey, either one of those I'm cool with talking about. Because it's sad because you just see Luger crawling up the ramp. Stinger! Still this day. So sad. Cool. Fake Sting or Warrior. And the War Games that makes no sense because it's every man for himself, even though you're on a team. Cool. So those will be our poll. Well, what's going on with Rivet City Radio and Box and Chair Shots? What's coming up?
There's a ton. We're always doing things and, saying the words and doing the things. If you want to find my shenanigans, check out my link tree at D. Gray. You'll find everything I do for Botch Spots, for Rivet City Radio, for Off the Top Media, and its Creation World.
Perfect. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let you go from our ramblings. For my buddy, The Will Gray, for my friend, Selfbet Wrestling, I love y'all. And we're going to end this week like we do every week. Wise words from the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, baby, I got one more thing to say. Your gas tank is full. Your dipstick is in. Your windows washed. Y'all come back and see me again.